The NFL schedule was released today. We're going to break that down. And also, we take our first shot at projecting who will be on the 53-man roster for the New York Jets when the season opens about 3 or 4 months from now. It is Wednesday night. It is 10 p.m. We are back and we are live. Welcome everybody back to New York Sports Wicker Media. I'm Watts, UK99. Thank you as always for taking the time to join me. And after a 1-week hiatus, we are back and I am coming to you live from the new studio apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, it's a 1-bedroom, but we'll call it a studio for the sake of the show. So still a bit of setting up to do. So right now I have the virtual background going on. Not sure what everything is going to look like going forward. But for right now, we're going to go with the backgrounds. I like the fireworks going off right over my right shoulder in MetLife Stadium. And once again, we're going to see that a lot this year as the Jets have a whole lot of primetime games coming up on the schedule. We're going to get into that. And we're definitely going to do some 3 now because I got some stuff to talk about. And if you've been checking out my channel the last few days, you know I've had some things to talk about. But before we do that, let's say hello to a few friends here in the chat. The great Jets Mess channel member is here. Oh, pretty much always the first one to arrive. And I definitely appreciate him being here and being as loyal as he is. We've got Hank G and we've got Harlan. We got the H-bombs here as well. Good to see you both here, guys. I see we got a nice little turnout here in the chat as well. Yep. Celtics beat the Cavs. Next stop, Eastern Conference Finals. Game's over. All right. Well, the Cavaliers were down quite a few. Players tonight. Who's that? Mitchell, LeVert, and Allen. 3 of their best players all out for this game. So, yeah, they did what they could, but they just ran out of bodies. And I think pretty much everybody and their brother figured the Celtics would make the Eastern Conference Finals. Who will join them? And we'll get into that in just one moment. Elon just likes to disturb the shit, as we all know. I haven't seen too many Hurricanes logos out here. I see a few. I don't see many. Not unless you're at the arena. The great Curly Norman, trivia master, one of my 2 kryptonites in trivia's here. Norman, I'm glad you are here, my friend. All right, so let's talk about a few things. First, let's talk about what's going on around the world of sports in a little bit of what we like to call 3 and out. So first, I will address Elon's favorite subject, the New York Rangers. So they are, I believe the Rangers have now arrived here in Raleigh. Thursday night will be Game 6. Rangers lead the series 3-2, and yet many Ranger fans, myself included, are expecting and fearing the absolute worst. If anybody wants to see me rant, I did that after Game 5 2 nights ago, and yes, I went off. I will make a confession. I actually left 5 minutes off the video because I felt I was about to, 1, lose my voice, and 2, I felt I was going in too many different directions. And I had to, somebody talks about griping intelligently. I was trying to rant in an organized manner. That was about the best I could do at that point. But yeah, I was absolutely disgusted with the absolute non-effort from the Rangers. I thought they played way too defensive. There we go. Things spun for a little bit. We're still getting used to the new internet in here. Hopefully it's going to work. If not, we're going to have to address that. But I thought the Rangers were way too passive. Same thing as what the Islanders did in Game 2 against Carolina as well. And now this coaching staff has to realize that the way they played Game 5, they played not to lose. And even if you're not a hockey fan, If you're a football fan, especially, you're a basketball fan as well, you know you play not to lose, you often lose. It isn't acceptable. 48 hours later, after I ranted, after that game, I'm still disgusted. I'm still terrified. My original prediction was Carolina in 7. But like I said, never in my sickest, most cruel, the worst nightmares I could imagine did I even imagine the Rangers winning the first 3 games of this series and then dropping 4 straight. It's going to be one of two emotions. It's at the end of the series. It is either going to be complete relief or one of the worst sports moments I have ever experienced in 40 years. There will be no middle ground. It won't be joy. It will be relief. All right. Let's go on to a little bit of basketball. So we did a recap video on Game 5. Fantastic win by the Knicks, blowing the Pacers out, something they really haven't done too much of in these playoffs. It's usually very grinded out, workmanlike victories, but pretty much by the end of the second quarter, you had a pretty good feeling that the Knicks were going to take this game. And my pick for this series was Knicks in 6, and that could still very well happen. Of course, that was before OG Anunoby went down. But I tell you what, after 3 close games, and then after blowouts in Game 4 and Game 5, you have to figure we are going to get a tight game in Indianapolis on Friday. I think it comes down to the last 2 or 3 possessions, but here's what I'm going to go with. The Knicks were tougher and had better coaching than Philadelphia. They won. Against Indiana, the Knicks are, again, the tougher team by far and have better coaching. I think the Knicks win this series, but I've really spent the last parts of the last 2 days thinking about the Knicks versus the Rangers and where they are. Because if you're a Knicks-Rangers fan like I am, you haven't seen anything like this in, almost 30 years where both teams have gone this far. So both teams have 3-2 leads. They're going to try to close their series on the road. Here's what's so strange about it, and this is just my perspective. I think the Rangers still have a better chance to win a championship, believe it or not, for this season. But the main reason for that is I think the Celtics are just too much for the Knicks to overcome. If OG Anunoby was indeed to come back for the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they can give Boston a real fight. So even though I think the Rangers have a better chance to win a championship, I think the Knicks have a better chance to get out of the second round than the Rangers do. And a part of that is just the opponent that they're playing. And, I admit, I am terrified of seeing my team blow a 3-0 series lead. It has happened only 4 times in the history of the NHL. And we have seen over the last few years, this Rangers core have a tendency to blow series leads. 2-0 on 2 occasions against Tampa Bay and New Jersey. To blow a 3-0 series lead would be an inexcusable crime. No other way to say it. As far as baseball goes, what else can we say? The Mets are a bad team. They've lost now 5 of 6 to the class teams of the NL East. They lose 10-5 to Philadelphia tonight, 19-23 overall. They're blowing leads. They can hit. They walk more hitters than any other team does in baseball. The only good things to happen in the last week for the Mets were Brandon Nimmo's walk-off home run and Joey Wendell getting his ass cut, getting DFA'd. That's about all that's happened that's gone well. So, and now they go off to Miami after this Philadelphia series ends tomorrow. Let's see if they can actually – let's see. How many people know? I didn't even know this. I was actually looking at tickets because I'm nuts, right? I was actually looking at tickets to go to Mets Marlins. I've never been to the Miami Stadium before. When you were watching like the Oakland Athletics, you see the highlights and the whole upper deck is closed off. They got the big Athletics tarp in center field, if you know what I mean. They, in Miami, have closed off the entire upper deck. You cannot get a ticket in the upper deck. The 100s, the 200s, the 300s are closed. So basically going to Marlins Stadium is like going to a minor league game in terms of seating capacity. So, they are struggling about as bad as the A's are for attendance. Miami is not in a good place. Amazing to think they were in the playoffs last year. Amazing. And people don't go. People just don't go. Harlan says the Celtics center's been out since Game 4 against the Heat. Yeah, Celtics a little bit beat up, but they still have a ton of talent. So, let's see what happens. But Celtics doing their job. The Knicks have a job to do as well. And hopefully they show the killer instinct that the Rangers have not up to this point. When you have a chance to eliminate a team, you do it. Now, I've heard I think I've heard this going back to like Mark Messier, guys like that the fourth game of a best of 7 is always the most difficult game to win because the other team has their backs against the wall and they're going to try anything to keep their season alive. Well, let's see what happens. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, that's enough for 3 and Out for tonight. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the main event of the evening. Let's flip the color from blue over to green. And I know everybody wants to say it. They want to say it proud. They want to say it loud. So everybody, let me hear you say it. That's right. It is time to talk a little bit of New York Jets football. As far as news goes, it's been kind of a slow news week outside of everything that we already know about with the schedule release and all of that. We're definitely getting into the dog days here. So I did want to spend one moment here and talk about Nathaniel Hackett. You know, the news surfaced, SNY reported it, that the Jets were looking at other coaches to come in and not necessarily take Hackett's job, but basically have Hackett demoted. They said that this new hypothetical coach would not have a coordinator title, but he would still be responsible for much of the offense. So to me, that would have been getting like too many cooks in the kitchen. Look, I've got very little confidence in Nathaniel Hackett's ability to do anything. If I had a dog, I don't know if I would trust Hackett to walk a dog properly. Okay. But if Aaron Rodgers is going to play better because Hackett's there, great. I don't think that should have anything to do with it. But if it keeps Rodgers in a good frame of mind overall, fine. He can hang around there. You know, he can make him a cup of coffee, just like Adam Gase used to do for Peyton Manning for so long. That could basically be Hackett's role. Because, you know, the Jets finished 31st in points per possession last year, 32nd in yards per possession. The Jets averaged less than 22 yards per possession last year. Of course, there was bad quarterback play. Of course, there was bad offensive line play. And you were a little bit limited in the number of weapons that you had to work with. But at the end of the day, if you're a good coach, you find a way to maximize the talents of what you have to work with. And Nathaniel Hackett showed constantly he didn't know how to do it. And that was what got really frustrating. It's like he thought Zach Wilson should be running Aaron Rodgers' offense, which made absolutely no sense whatsoever. But anyway, Hackett will still be here. That's fine. He can have his 1 year. And hey, if the Jets have any kind of a disappointing year, he will probably be the sacrificial lamb. Hey, G, how did the move go? You know, move went pretty well. Last Wednesday was loading day. Thursday was unloading day. And, I basically spent one day kind of putting everything together. Still some things need to be done, or I'll need a little bit of backup, like putting pictures up on the wall, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, the apartment's working out well. Nice having a balcony being, kind of high up. That is pretty cool. And having a good-sized kitchen. If you guys know me, you know I love to cook. And I definitely got a good amount. I got too much kitchen storage space. I got 2 or 3 shelves like way up that I don't even know what to do with. And by the way, the people who design these residences now, where they're building the storage up, is the idea that people are getting taller. Like there's like 8 foot tall people out there that can reach all the way up to the top shelf. I mean, I'm lucky if I can get to shelf level 2, let alone shelf level 4. But yeah, the place is working out well. Gym's good, pool's good. For the little bit of time, I haven't really been able to go over there much. We've had bad weather lately. That hasn't been too good. If I had to give you one issue with it, it's that I don't have a lot of storage space. So it's taking a little bit of creativity where I'm going to put everything. Like on one of my nightstands, I've got 3 bins, like 20-gallon bins of DVDs, and I'm not even sure where to put them as of yet. So, we're doing what we can, but, you can't put all that stuff out on the balcony, right? Because the hot suns, that's not good for, for discs. Yes, I still have DVDs that I haven't gotten rid of. So, but yeah, I'm sitting at the same old desk. The wicker chair is here, and the wicker chair was well protected. I did put a post up on the YouTube channel to let you know, yes, this thing has been very, very, very well protected. It looked like a giant boot if you guys saw that photo that I put up. But yes, the wicker chair is here, and it is with me. So all good. David D, yep, jet up, brother. Jet up. All right, guys, so let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Today's news, let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so let's break this down into a couple stages. I'm gonna kind of go through the whole. Where are your Beta Vision tapes? They are right next to the acetate tapes that I use for music. Which, by the way, predates 8 tracks. A lot of the DVDs I have, no, you can't get this stuff on YouTube. Granted, about 4/5 of them are old wrestling DVDs. So with independent companies, like with Ring of Honor. So it's not like I could just go to WWE Network and replace everything. Doesn't quite work that way. So, Rusty Spooner. Oh, I was getting to that. Yep, Jets playing Charlotte again in the preseason. Woo! I am very, very happy about that. It's pretty easy to fly from Raleigh to Charlotte, or I can make the drive in a little over 2 hours. But yes, I will absolutely be in Charlotte for that game. I wanted to do it last summer. The flight situation, unfortunately, did not work out. But now I have the option of just driving the 2 hours if I want to do that. And yeah, I hope it's on a weekend, but we'll see. But I will definitely find a way to get to that game, and I'm very, very excited. What's that? Okay, I can sort of see what you're saying. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, but yes, so going to the preseason games, there will be 3. The first one against the Washington Commandskins, number 2 at the Carolina Panthers, and then, of course, hosting the New York Giants. It's always Jets-Giants to close the preseason. So, yeah, the Jets basically staying in the Mid-Atlantic region for their exhibition season. It is interesting, though, that the Jets are going to Carolina 2 straight years and that Carolina's not coming up to MetLife at any point. So, just a little observation there. All right, so let's take a look at the schedule. So, as pretty much everybody knows, we open Monday, September 9th at San Francisco. The second straight year opening on Monday night. This time it is going to be on the road. So you have your homecomings for Robert Saleh, for Solomon Thomas, for Javon Kinlaw. Think Javon Kinlaw is going to be motivated to play a huge game? I would think so. And, of course, Robert Saleh going back to San Francisco. Going to be a big, big game for him. You know he's going to be running a few extra steps leading into that game. Just a few extra steps. You know, a lot of people, I've heard some different opinions on people. Well, people wanted an easier opponent, or it's like, well, let's get this out of the way. I guess my thought right now is I don't want to play a team that's as well oiled as San Francisco, but I look at it this way. Even if they lose that first game, big deal. Nobody's really would be expecting them to win this game anyway. San Francisco is opened up as a 5-point home favorite. So if the Jets lose this game, 1, it's a road loss. 2, it's an NFC loss. That's important as opposed to an interconference loss. And, you know, it's easy for people to freak out over going 0-1. If you lose to San Francisco on the road, you know, that's not necessarily a loss to be too ashamed of. Yep, GVH is right. Homecoming for DJ Reed. He did start with the Niners. They drafted him, I think, in the 5th round about 5 or 6 years ago. Yep, so that's another one. There's probably another 1 or 2 that's kind of slipping the mind right now. But, but those are definitely some of the main ones. But, yeah, then I don't think the Niners are going to have any kind of Super Bowl hangover, to say the least. And on Monday night, it's going to be big. I think one of the things, though, I'm a little bit surprised about is that some people are thinking that, well, the Jets' offensive line won't have time to mesh yet. At least, hey, there's a better chance that they're going to be healthy for that game because it's so early in the season, you know. So for week 1, hey, we have a good chance of having our 5 best going at it. So I don't mind it. Put it this way. I am a little surprised that we would play at San Francisco to start and then go to Tennessee. I would have thought we would have a home game with a short turnaround time, but it is not going to be that way. We go to the land of Nashville. Great time. And, of course, Tennessee did another one of their scheduled release videos interviewing people on Broadway. And when it came to the Jets, they said, yeah, they peaked in 1970. Even though, of course, the Jets didn't win a Super Bowl in 1970, they lost their first playoff game to Kansas City that year. So they really peaked in 1969. So the guy had the decade wrong anyway. Oh, yeah, Curly Norman. Yep, Leonard Floyd signed with the 49ers. Absolutely correct. The one responsible for Aaron Rodgers' injury. And now we get to see him again. So Floyd, Bosa, Yeah, at least Armstead's gone, but Hargrave is there. So throw in Warner, possibly Greenlaw. Yeah, it is a tall, tall, tall test. No doubt about it. Yep. So then you have Tennessee. It's really 3 games, Rusty. It's really 3 games in 11 days when you count it up. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's 3 games in 11 days. But yes, you are right with your point. But you know what? I would rather it be at the beginning of the season than like in the middle of the season. Unless the bye was coming right after that, which it isn't. But at least the Jets are starting off with a heavy load of football. So they will be on the field a lot quickly and will have a chance to get their rhythm going maybe quicker than other teams would because they're going to be playing so much so quickly. And let's be honest, we look at this at the first third of the schedule. The middle portion of this is not exactly what I would call threatening. Okay, just look at the quarterbacks from weeks 2 to 5. You have Will Levis in Tennessee. In New England, you're going to have Drake May or Jacoby Brissett. Week 4 against Denver, you're going to have what? Zach Wilson, Bo Nix, or Jarrett Stidham, or who knows. And then when we go to the Queen's country, when we go to London to play Minnesota, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy, a rookie who shouldn't even be playing this year, who should be on the bench, or Sam Darnold, who we know well as well. So the Jets will have an opportunity, in my mind, to take 3 of those 4 games for sure. They should have a very good chance to do that. Anything less than 3 of 4 between weeks 2 and 5 to me would be a massive, massive disappointment. All right. And then week 6, we see Buffalo for the first time at home, and that's a Monday night game. So that's 8 days. So at least you get the 1 extra day, unlike Buffalo, going into that game. So I guess I'm a little bit encouraged by that. All right, so that's the first 6 weeks. Now we go to week 7 through 12. So remember, actually, I'll go back real quick. So week 7, we have Buffalo on Monday night. Then the next week, this is weird. Then we play Sunday night against Pittsburgh. Very, very strange. It's not often you'll see a team play Monday night and then go to Sunday night. But maybe Sunday night actually makes a difference as opposed to Sunday at 1. I don't know. I doubt it makes an enormous difference. But that game that's like the one, I think, nationally televised game. Or at least, I think that's the only other Sunday night game. Yeah, Jets have 2 Sunday night games, 2 Monday night games, and 2 Thursday night games as of now. And all of them are in the first, in the first 11 weeks. So you have at Pittsburgh, then hosting New England. 4 days later, you're hosting Houston on Halloween. All right, so I don't like that tight turnaround time to play such a good Houston team that is coming for revenge after last year when the Jets just dominated them. So that makes me a little bit uneasy. Another thing with the home schedule, of the 8 home games the Jets have, 4 of the first 5 home games are standalone games. New England's on a Thursday on September 19th. September 29th, you have Denver. That's the exception. Monday night, October 14th against Buffalo, then Halloween, Thursday night, Houston, and then Sunday, November 17th, Indianapolis on Sunday night. So 4 of their first 5 home games are standalone games. So MetLife Stadium will have a chance to show out. Jets fans will have a chance to show out, and they're going to make it a big production. So I guess that's pretty. If that's something you're excited about, then that's great. But no 3-game road trips. That's always something I look at. So none of those exist on this schedule. But so you have the 4 days, the 4-day turnaround time between New England and Houston. Then you have a little extra time before you go to Arizona on November 10th. I don't know if the Jets are going to need much extra time to heal up before Arizona, but we'll see. Week later, Indianapolis. That could be an interesting game. Week 12 is when they have their bye. So Thanksgiving weekend, you don't have to worry about your Thanksgiving dinners getting spoiled or having too many upset stomachs aside from fantasy reasons because the Jets won't be there to mess that up for you. And then we get into the month of December and into early January. Now remember, any of these last 6 games can be flexed as well. So we may not know all of the Sunday night, Monday night games that the Jets will be playing yet. So you start with Seattle, Sunday, December 1st, and then it's at Miami. So that is their first game against Miami this year on December 8th. So you won't probably have to deal with the really hot sun with the intense heat down there in South Florida. December 15th at Jacksonville, December 22nd hosting the Rams, then December 29th at Buffalo. So it will be frigid there. Who knows? Maybe that game is going to have some division title ramifications. You never know. And then Sunday, January 5th, although this could also be the previous Saturday, hosting Miami to end the season. So a couple of other things here. I find it interesting as I'm going to go back to the first page here. So they play New England on a Thursday. They have the 10 days off. Then they come back and play Denver. Then the next Thursday game, check this out. Houston, October 31st, they have another 10-day break. They come back and play Arizona. So they're playing kind of lousy teams that are not expected to be very good in New England and Arizona coming off this extra rest. Another thing to point out, of their last 5 games from December 8th on, 4 of those games are against playoff teams from last year as well. And this was a note from Rich Cimini, which I thought was really interesting. The Jets will finish the season at home for the first time since 2016. I was actually stunned by that the Jets have not finished the season at home in 8 or 9 years. That is pretty crazy, but they will do that this particular season. And it's certainly interesting that they're closing the season with not one, which everybody does, 1 division game, but actually 2 division games. So let's see what winds up happening. All right, so that's a look at the schedule. I don't know we'll see what happens as far as the road trip goes. I'll wait to hear what's going on. But, yep, I definitely have the intention of going to the Carolina preseason game. And, hey, you know what? Now that I'm not in Virginia anymore and I don't have the role of president like I used to where – I felt like it was my duty to be there for just about every game. Now I have a little more free reign to travel, to go to a game if that's something that I want to do. We do have a Jets group down here in Raleigh, but it's a little bit disorganized. They're not sure where they're going to meet, or there's different sectors of it. I think what that group needs is a little bit of organization. Now, I'm not about to come down here, stir the pot, and take over, because that's not my place to do that. That's not what I should be doing. But if there's something I could do to help, believe me, I definitely want to help that group out. So we'll see what happens. But I hope I will say this: if that group is as cool as the one in Virginia was that took me in and they became some of my best friends, and they still are, then I'll be very fortunate if I can find the same thing down here in North Carolina. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go on to projecting the 53-man roster. All right. So I've been kind of thinking about this. Now, this is very likely to change. I don't necessarily think the Jets are done signing players, but I tried to make sure I kept 25 on offense, 25 on defense, and 3 special teams players as well. We will see what happens, but, obviously injuries can always mess things up, or if somebody gets let go, Jets want to bring them in. You never know. But we start with quarterbacks. I don't think this is going to surprise anybody. Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor. Obviously, you're 1 and 2. The one thing, though, that's a little surprising here is Jordan Travis. JetSmith says we have no money to sign players. I think we had about, in effective money, about $3-4 million left. I think we still have a little bit of money left. And the only one who hasn't signed a deal yet is Malachi Corley. And, the one thing that Joe Douglas does, he always leaves a little bit of extra room in order to, sign a player or make a trade for somebody. But I'm going to quickly pull this up. Okay, teams. I'm just going really quickly to overthecap.com. All right, so according to overthecap.com, the Jets have about $6 million to work with. All right, so there is a little bit of room left available for them. So about $6 million. Corley still needs to be signed. Of course, he'll probably get maybe about $2 million or so. So there wouldn't be much there at all, but it would be like a take it or leave it kind of contract if somebody gets hurt. Put it this way, I don't think Justin Simmons is coming here, but if somebody does get hurt and they do need to replace somebody, you do want to have a little bit of money there available. But Jordan Travis is kind of the surprise here because from what we're hearing, he could be ready for training camp. Now, when I started doing this, I started planning this roster out about a week and a half ago. And my idea was I was going to start Jordan Travis on the PUP list, and the Jets would only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster to start the season. Yeah. So GVH is bringing this up. They could redshirt Travis and keep 2, or they risk losing him. They're not going to risk cutting Jordan Travis. They wouldn't do that. They would probably, because there's the whole rule about you have to let a player sometimes pass through waivers or whatever before they do that. I don't think that's, or you have to have him on the roster for week 1 before you do it. The rules kind of change constantly with the injuries and the PUP lists and all of that. But from what we're seeing, he's looking like he'll be able to go. Because here's one thing that we have to think about. For these preseason games, who the heck's going to play quarterback? It's not Rodgers. He'll get a series maybe. Taylor might get a quarter. But you're hoping that's going to be Jordan Travis getting the majority of the reps. I know the Jets brought in another undrafted free agent as well, but I think one of the biggest hopes that we would have is that Travis would get a lot of reps as part of the preseason. So I certainly hope that is going to happen. But for right now, I'm going to say he actually starts the season with the team, and he would be like that emergency quarterback on Sundays in that sort of a role. Running backs, I've only got 3 on the roster. I've got Breece Hall, I've got Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis. I've got the 2 rookies, and I think Izzy Abanikanda is the player that the Jets are going to try to sneak through and keep on the practice squad. I think that while they love his speed and certain things about him, he just wasn't ready yet to play in the NFL. Now, of course, that could change. Let's see what an offseason does. But the Jets drafted 2 running backs, and that to me was the writing on the wall for Izzy, because they drafted physical running backs who can block, who can protect the quarterback, and love to be physical. And that's not something that Izzy is really that great at. He's at his best when he can basically run in a straight line. So to me, I think the Jets are going to go with the 3 running backs. Breece Hall is going to be the bell cow. We all know how capable he is and how good he is. Hopefully behind a revamped offensive line, it'll make him just that much more effective. So I think Izzy goes, hopefully stays on the practice squad. I think Nick Barden's time is up as well. I don't think the Jets keep a fullback this particular season. Not a true fullback at least. Not like a Patrick Ricard or a Kyle Juszczyk. All right, swig of water for the working man and woman. All right, on to wide receivers. And if you guys have any questions or any thoughts on this, throw them right down there in the comments. All right, wide receivers. So I've got 6 on the roster. Garrett Wilson, enough said, one of the absolute best in the league. Mike Williams, I believe he will be healthy. I think he will be ready to go for week 1. Malachi Corley, of course, will be there. You know how much I like him and how much I wanted him on the team. Alan Lazard will make this team. I don't see the Jets going out and getting another wide receiver like a Corey Davis. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think if it was going to happen, it already would have. That's my thought. I didn't think Davis would sign a deal until after the draft, but now it's been a couple weeks, and we still haven't heard anything. So the more time goes by, the less confidence I have that is going to happen. So I think Lazard is there. Irv Charles is really there for special teams. He's going to be the new gunner with Justin Hardy gone. And as far as Xavier Gipson goes, I think right now he'll be that backup wide receiver, but he could also return if you need him to. So even though Jets Mess is not an Xavier Gipson fan, I do think he makes the roster for his speed and for his return ability. Because the Jets could still use a burner. They could still use somebody with some speed. And we'll see in his second year if he's able to improve his skills and become a more well-rounded wide receiver than what he was. He sucks at returning. Okay. We'll see. Put it this way. I got confidence in Brant Boyer being able to make anybody a good returner. And, he did score last year. But, after that one touchdown against Buffalo, he didn't do much. But, the Jets are not going to give up. The Jets are not going to give up on Charles Gibson and Brownlee. Right now I've got Brownlee out, but you could make an argument that Brownlee could make it. But let's be honest. None of these guys, none of these young wide receivers, say what you want to about the quarterback play, and you're very justified in saying it, but none of these wide receivers stood out at all. And they got time. Malik Taylor. Anybody remember Malik Taylor? right? Irv Charles, Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee didn't do a whole lot. So, but Charles is going to be there for special teams. I could see one of the other receivers making it. Right now, I'm going to lean Gibson for the return ability. But personally, my hope would be Jason Brownlee can get a little better for that outside receiver role. Curly Norman says we need another quality interior offensive lineman for depth. Well, we're going to get into that in just a moment. Wants to see Izzy at returner. Maybe not a bad idea, but I think the Jets have another couple of guys who could do it. I think Corley could even return for it if you wanted him to. I think Corley's capable of it. So we shall see. On to tight end, and I'm keeping 4 tight ends. And there's a couple of reasons why. Ty Conklin, I think he's going to have a big year with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. Aaron Rodgers loves throwing the tight ends. And Conklin had a weird year. He had sort of like a great, terrible year. Like he had his moments. He would make his catches. He could stretch the field a little bit. He could get first downs. But he did not score a single touchdown all year. And I think a lot of that is because the Jets were practically never in the red zone and they had bad quarterback play. But I think Conklin will emerge as a pretty big weapon for this offense this year. And then you have Jeremy Ruckert. I think Ruckert's role expands a little bit this year. He kind of takes over that H-back role that Bond would play 5-6 snaps a game. But let's see what Ruckert is. It's time for Jeremy Ruckert to have his breakout moment. Now, of course, we all love him because he's the Long Island kid and all of that. But he's got to have a little bit more of a presence on this offense. I hope he gets more of an opportunity, not just catching the ball, but blocking as well. Because right now, I got more confidence in his blocking than I do his receiving, even though he may be capable of it, but he's got to earn those reps on the field. The ODU biases there. Yeah, and GVH basically making my point for me. Dang, did you write did you write the show tonight, GVH? Is that what happened? But yes, Kenny Ebola will stay around for specials. Again, with Justin Hardy gone, the Jets need to bring back as many of their other specialists. Yeah, they're special team specialists. That's exactly what I meant to say. And Yabo is definitely one of them, along with Ashton Davis, so we'll get into Irv Charles as well. And Zach Kuntz, I was kind of debating him and Izzy for that last spot on offense, but I'm going to go with Kuntz. I think he's going to have more of a chance because Brees has just a large presence, and the Jets want to give their 2 rookies as many chances as they can. I think there's going to be more of an opportunity for Kuntz. And let's see what a year of offseason does for him. But I think a couple of things. Conklin, I believe, is a free agent after this season, as I remember. I'm pretty sure. I know he got restructured. Yeah, he's got like a void year. So he has, so with the guaranteed money, just check this. So it's all right. So Conklin's cap hit next year is just $1.95 million. That's it. So basically you can get out of it. If you didn't want to keep him, if you cut him post June 1st, the dead cap hit would be about $650,000. It would not be actually. Wait a minute. Let me go back to that. Yep. Okay. So yeah, it would be $650,000 on the cap hit. You'd save $1.3 million. So the point of that is, if you don't believe in Conklin, if he doesn't have a really good season, you can let him go after this year. And then if Ruckert does emerge, you have him. You still have Kenny Ebola, and you still have Zach Kuntz. So it's okay. To me, you could get away with not having a great tight end, but you better have several effective ones as well. But it is interesting when you really think about it. When you look at the best teams in the NFL right now, so many of them have a great tight end. Baltimore has Andrews. San Francisco has Kittle. Kansas City has Kelsey. So, and even Philadelphia, if you like Dallas Goedert, he's pretty dang good as well. TJ Hawkinson. Look at Sam Laporta. Look how big of a difference did Sam Laporta make for that Detroit offense last year? So, it's tough to find a good tight end. So if you have one who's a true difference maker, and I don't think Conklin is quite that, but if you can find one who is a real difference maker, you have a much better chance of becoming a big-time team. You just cannot afford to screw that pick up. All right, so we have 3 quarterbacks. We have 3 running backs. We have, I believe, 6 receivers and 4 tight ends. So that takes us up to, yes, I believe, let's double check that. You have 3, 3, 6. That's 12. And now we're up to 16. Okay, on to the offensive line. So we're going to break this down first by offensive tackle. And to me, there's only 4. Only 4 that should be on this roster. Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses are your starters. Olu Fashanu, and then you have Carter Warren as the 4th tackle on this team. To me, Max Mitchell has long outstayed his welcome. The Jets have moved on from him. In my mind, I don't see him surviving training camp. And let's see what happens with Warren. We know he's dealt with his injuries, but I think that you have a very good chance of developing him and Olu as well when you have Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Even if you don't believe in the offensive line coach, even if you hate Keith Carter, if you have 2 fantastic coaches who also happen to be starters on this team in Tyron and Morgan. So I like having these 2 having these 2 kids there as your backup tackles. Now, could you bring in David Bakhtiari? Absolutely. And Curly Norman mentions that as well. I think if you do that, I don't know. I don't know if Bakhtiari would be willing to do it. If he is, then I would say cool, because you can't have enough depth. But I wonder if are you going to have 5 tackles on this team, and 3 of them basically not playing? I know we need depth. I get that. You can never have enough offensive line depth, but I wonder. It's a tough call. It's a difficult call to make. And maybe if you have a contract that is very influenced by playing time, by snaps, and things like that, then that's fine. But I think the base deal would have to be very, very cheap, like $2 million, maybe something like that. And I don't know if Bakhtiari would take that, even coming off his knee issues. I don't know. But like I said, with Joe Douglas, he will say, here's what we're willing to offer. If you're willing to take it, we'd love to have you. But go ahead, test the market, see what else you can get out there. But maybe I'm a little gun shy of bringing in Aaron Rodgers' old friends, because we saw how that worked out last year. Do we have to run down the names? And of course, when Bakhtiari plays, he's one of the best in the league. No doubt about it. But I think the offensive tackle room, the way I'm looking at it, looks pretty dang good. Looks pretty good. But then you go to the interior offensive line, and here's where I'm adding a little bit of depth. So you got John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, and Elijah Vera Tucker. Those will be your starters at left guard, center, and right guard. Wes Schweitzer is your Swiss Army knife. He can play center. He can play guard. He could do any of those things that you need him to do. But I agree that a little more depth is needed. Now, the Jets do have a few other players. You have Chris Glazer. You have Jake Hansen. You even have Xavier Newman. They signed Brady Latham, the other Latham. They signed Brady Latham as an undrafted free agent. He's going to get a chance to show out as well. But Connor McGovern is still out there as a free agent. He took a very low-cost deal from the Jets last year, and if he's willing to take another one and be a backup, then I would be more excited about bringing McGovern in over Bakhtiari, because I think the interior offensive line is hurting for depth more than offensive tackle is. So that's my thoughts. Yeah, GVH on the same page, rather spend that money on McGovern. I would as well, even though Bakhtiari's upside is higher. They're both only going to sign 1-year deals anyway. And with the injuries that we've seen with some of these players, I want some versatility. I want some leadership. I want somebody who has been there before and knows what he has to do. And McGovern would come in seamlessly. There'd be no transition whatsoever. It would be just like that. He'd be back. He'd be ready to go. All right, well, that's the offense. So that is 25 offensive players that I'm projecting for the 53-man roster. And then, well, I'm going to do what we always do on the videos. Let's, flip the script. I always like doing that. All right, so first with defensive tackles. All right, I've got 5 on the roster. I've got Quinn Williams, obviously, one of the best in the world. Their best interior pass rusher. Their best interior run defender as well. GVH with a quick comment. Just don't trust Wes. He did get hurt, but how many backup offensive linemen really deserve to be trusted? I guess that would be my only question there. But, I can understand it because he did get hurt pretty quickly and he really wasn't able to come back. It sucked. But, they had Tristan Colon in here as well, and they let him go. He went off to Arizona. So the Jets really made that decision. They opted for Schweitzer over Cologne. I'm not saying right versus wrong. It's just what they chose to do. But hopefully we don't have to trust Schweitzer because hopefully he doesn't have to play. All right, and then we've got Javon Kinlaw coming in from San Francisco. Another sort of reclamation project from the Niners defensive line. Not too different of a situation than Solomon Thomas was. He, of course, back with the Jets on a one-year deal. And then you have Leki Fotu, signed as a free agent. He will step into the Al Woods role, except that Fotu has much better hair, much bigger hair. So he's a Pacific Islander, so he has like the big hair going on, and it's fantastic. All right, but so he will be more of your run defender, and we know that the Jets have had issues defending the run up the middle last year. That was probably the biggest bugaboo on this defense. So Fotu, I think, is a player. If there's one under the radar signing, I think this is the one. This is one that if it works out, the Jets are going to be in really, really good shape on that defense. And then Kinlaw and Thomas can clean it up. But Leonard Taylor, the undrafted free agent from Miami, I thought he was going to go late day 2 in the draft. When the Jets got him as an undrafted free agent, I was thrilled. I was very happy to get him. Now, he is more of a pass rusher than a run stopper. And we talked about this when we were doing the draft recap, and I want to say it again for anybody who wasn't here. One of the scouts said about Taylor, and this was about 2 months before the draft, if you put Taylor in a situation where it's rotating the pass rushers and the defense emphasizes getting to the quarterback in waves, then Taylor's a guy you're going to want to have on your team. Leonard Taylor is not a fit for all 32 NFL defenses, but I think he is a very, very good fit for the New York Jets. And I think Leonard Taylor was smart enough as well to know that the Jets were the best place for him to go to. And I think this is going to be a player that we're going to come to really, really get attached to over the course of the preseason. I could really see it happening. All right, so I got 5 defensive tackles. As far as the edge rushers go, I'm bringing 5 as well. 10 defensive linemen. Is anybody really surprised? This is what I'm expecting. Hassan Reddick. Enough said. Do I even need to go on? I was driving down a lonely, desolate Virginia road, surrounded by nothing but cornfields and farms when I got the news of the Hassan Reddick trade, and boy, was I happy. Boy, was I happy. Assist says, is Taylor the new hub project in the Jets' eyes? That I don't necessarily think so. Put it this way. He's a defensive line project for sure, but he's not the only one, and more on that later. So he's one of them. Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, enough said. I know some people are down on Michael Clemens, but with John Franklin-Myers gone, you need more of a big physical defensive end to help set the edge, especially against the run. And I think that's something Michael Clemens can do. Nobody is ever going to confuse him for Deacon Jones or Reggie White. But if he can play just good two-way defensive end, rush the passer a little bit, even though all he really has is a bull rush move, but really help establish the line, like tie up alignment so that other people can make plays, then I'll be good. I'll be good with that as far as Michael Clemens goes. Hopefully, when he gets to camp, he will have dropped some of the weight that the coaching staff wanted him to put on for last season. I think that really hurt him. Hopefully now he's a little bit lighter, he's a little bit quicker, and that will make him a better player. And hopefully, eventually, he will be an absolute nightmare for Deion Dawkins or any other tackle who tries to get in his way. And can Deion Dawkins just shut up already? He just doesn't stop talking. Man, between him and Draymond Green, those are two people who need to just shut up. They really are. But Braden McGregor, that might be your Bryce Huff role. So coming from Michigan, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing about Braden McGregor. He plays the run already better than Bryce Huff does. And he can still rush the passer as well. Very good explosiveness off the line. Created good stats, good numbers with Michigan. But I think he is going to be a player that is going to make quite a difference. I really do. GVH, you like that I kept McGregor? Okay, cool. But what if it's cornerback or safety that takes the hit in numbers? May have been wide receiver, but I'll wait till you're done. I will say this. I did 25 offense, 25 defense, 3 special teams. I didn't want to mess with that. All right. So, but I did go with 10 defensive linemen. And let's be honest, I think that's what we're pretty much expecting because that's the way this defense rolls. If you look at, we'll get into linebacker in a moment, but if you look at the snap counts from last year, it was basically CJ and it was Quincy. A little bit of Jamie and Sherwood on certain plays, but that was it. The Jets are not going to use a lot of linebackers. You have your corners, and yes, you have your safeties. We'll get into them, but the defensive line is the heart of this defense. But as far as linebacker goes, believe it or not, I've got 5 here as well. I've got CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams. Those are the linchpins of that defense. 2 players the Jets can really not afford to lose. And I had a little bit of debate about what I was going to do with these linebackers. But I kept Jamie and Sherwood. I kept Zaire Barnes, who was drafted last year. And I just think the coaching staff loves Chaz Surratt for specials. I really think that they do. I could see a situation where they only go with 4. I think it is possible. I know it's a little bit crazy, and to me, it's hard to know which one of the 3 they would give up on. But I could see a situation maybe they cut one, bring him back to the practice squad. Right now, I'm going with 5. This is always subject to change. Maybe they do get tired of Jamie and Sherwood. I don't know. Sherwood, to me, it's what he is. He's a nice player to have, but, every team's got a Jamie and Sherwood. What is Zaire Barnes going to be? Chaz Surratt, we pretty much know what he is, but you do need a little bit of depth in case CJ or Quincy do go down, in my opinion. So right now I got 5. So that's 15. So I'm going a little bit lighter on the secondary. Now at cornerback, I've got 6. I've got Sauce, I've got DJ, I've got Michael Carter II, of course. All right. A quick comment from Assist. I want to go back to that. The only negative I have is last year Mosley was already a bit slow. He's still great between the ears, absolutely. Is there a future starter in Sherwood, Barnes, or Surratt? I think that they have drafted several different linebackers with the intent of developing CJ's replacement, but CJ's still going to be here, I think, past next year as well. It's like, there's every offseason, there's a few things that are guaranteed to happen. Free agency, the draft, and CJ Mosley restructures his contract with the Jets. You can count on it, right? I think Surratt is a role linebacker. He can play, but he's more of a special teams guy. Barnes, I feel like I haven't really seen much of him. I think Sherwood could do pretty well. I think he's a very smart player, and I think he's a very effective tackler. But if you're going to have Sherwood, you need quite a bit around him. I don't think Sherwood is quite what Mosley was, but if I had to bet on one of the 3, I think I'd go Sherwood, but I don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, not that we're looking at the draft already for next year, but linebacker and safety are 2 spots that the Jets could stand to address. But when linebacker and safety are maybe if those are your 2 biggest problems, you're doing very, very well. Because remember, these players look better based off on how the defensive line goes. Because with this defense, they're rushing 4. There's 7 dropping back in coverage. And that's one of the reasons why guys like CJ are able to still be effective. They don't have to cover that big sideline to sideline range because they have the extra help. And that's important to keep in mind as well. But Brandon Echols, I think this is his last year with the Jets. He's a free agent. Obviously, DJ, Michael Carter, and Brandon Echols, all free agents after this year. If I had to bet on one coming back, it's going to be MC2. Reed, Echols, I think are going to be tough calls. But if I had to bet on one going, it's Echols. But yeah, no doubt he's been a pretty solid Jet. Quantez Stiggers, I love his story. We talked about him weeks before the draft. Those of us who know, we know. I think he makes the team. And I'm going to put Isaiah Oliver on as well, who the Jets signed away from San Francisco. This is the Isaiah Oliver Bowl at week 1. Yeah. Forget Robert Saleh. Forget all the other guys. Forget Solomon Thomas, everybody else. No. This game is all about Isaiah Oliver coming back to San Francisco. That's gonna grab the headlines, right? No, but Isaiah Oliver is going to be a big player on specials as well, and I think he gets a roster spot too. So 6 corners, which means I've got room for 4 safeties. And here's what I'm going to do. I've got Tony Adams and Chuck Clark as starters. Ashton Davis, of course, signed as the 3rd safety. He is keeping his role. Very glad that he has come back. But I'm going with Jarek Bernard-Converse, who was drafted last year to get that fourth safety role. And I've got Jalen Key getting cut. I've got Mr. Irrelevant not making this team. Okay? Doesn't mean that the Jets can't bring him back to the practice squad. But to me, I'm more excited about some of the undrafted free agents the Jets got as opposed to Jalen Key, to be quite frank. Nothing against the kid. I just think that some of these other players have more upside. And you know what? It's sometimes you just got to keep the players who have the most upside. And then you sort of fill in the rest of it as you go along. But yeah, when you do the math, we have 10 defensive linemen, 5 linebackers, 6 cornerbacks, and 4 safeties. That's 25. So, if I took it away from anything, then you could say, well, I didn't keep a 4th running back. If we go back to that, I kept 6 receivers. Maybe some people would want a 7th wide receiver. Maybe they want Jason Brownlee. But yeah, I tried to go even 25-25, but I think maybe the most different thing I did, I opted for the 4th tight end instead of the 4th running back. And then, of course, special teams, we don't need to spend much time on this. You got Thomas Morstead, you got Greg Zuerlein, and you got Thomas Hennessy, one of the best 3-player special teams units in the league. So that's what I've got going on for the roster. And as things change, as minicamp happens, as exhibition games happen, I'm sure that this is going to change as we go along. So that is what I'm looking at for the roster. And hey, we could agree, we might disagree on some of those, but that's what I'm feeling today. That is what I'm feeling right now. Okay, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. It's just a few minutes before 11 o'clock, but I think we've gotten through all the stuff that we need to get through today. And I think we're kind of caught up on the chat. Yep, Harlan agrees that, yeah, if one of these guys is a starter, it's probably Sherwood. Yeah, again, I don't know if the Jets trust him to be a starter, but if you have Quincy right next to him, who is an impact linebacker, that's pretty good. But yeah, Sherwood, yeah. But, linebackers have definitely been getting devalued over the last few years in the NFL. Yeah, can't deny that. But if you have a really, really good one, it's really nice to have. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. It is just before 11 o'clock. So I think I know what we need to do. And I think I know what you all want to do. It is that time when every week I bust open the books. I check out the websites. And I test you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal fan base in all of the NFL. How much do you know about your favorite team, your New York Jets? So let us all play Jets Trivia. All right. Yes, and it is trivia time for Harlan Abraham. Assist, very, very excited. And yes, of course, it is Lee Cravat, as always. Yep. GVH is thinking this one's going to be about the long snapper. Yes, the answer is James Dearth. We'll go James Dearth, but what is the question? No, it is not going to be about that. We are going to go a few years back. And believe it or not, I actually do have a schedule-related trivia for you tonight. So in 1983, the Jets were actually playing San Francisco that year in Candlestick Park. That was the only time that they ever won a game in Candlestick Park. All right, it was in 1983. And in that game, as I put the question on the screen, the Jets had a pick 6 off Joe Montana in the 4th quarter. So they intercepted Joe Cool, the real GOAT, wink, wink, the real GOAT. They intercepted him and returned that interception for a touchdown, which put them ahead to stay. The question I have for you all tonight is, what Jet made the interception and scored the touchdown? And I can tell you, this particular video clip has been making the rounds on Twitter the last 2 days. So if you've been looking at any particular sites that might recognize Jets moments, not that we're looking anything up. I know you guys, you're not looking it up, but this play has actually been making the rounds on social media the last 2 days. So in 1983, what Jet picked off Joe Montana in the 4th quarter for a pick-6 touchdown. Jets miss, no clue. Okay. Thanks for playing the game. I'm only asking for one name tonight. But I think it was like the Jets, one of the Jets history Twitter accounts. So GVH says he wishes he had Twitter. Normally, I'll be honest with you, I never would have put this question up, but the fact that it was kind of making the rounds, I'm like, let's see if how plugged in people are to this. Curly Norman, I know. I hope Curly Norman's here because he has a way of answering trivia questions like last second. GVH is going with Joe Klecko. No, I could. It was not a defensive lineman. I can tell you that. All right, so it's not Klecko. Yep, and still can't play the music, and I don't think I'll be able to, unfortunately. I wish I could. All right. Let's just check. And guys, of course, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do that. I appreciate everybody's support. Want to get these videos out there, and we are getting very, very close, guys. We are 2 subscribers away from 900. We are at 898 subscribers. We've been making some good progress this week, I can tell you. So 898, we are right there at 900. So close. I'm so excited to get there. Curly Norman says, I was born in 86, so before my time, and I'll guess Johnny Lynn. It was not Johnny Lynn. All right, got about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. Let me see if I can help out with this one. I'll admit this is not. You'd have to be a pretty. You have to know 80s Jets decently to get this one. He's a player. If you're a fan of 80s Jets, you would know his name, but he's not. This is not Darrelle Revis. It's not that. But I'll try to find a few notes on him. Maybe I can help narrow this down a little bit. All right. Oh, that's right. This guy actually was born in Newport News, Virginia, where I just moved away from. How about that? Yeah, went to Bethel High Schools. I think that's where Allen Iverson went as well. I didn't know this guy went there. Okay. But he was a Jet for about 5 years. Played a little bit in the USFL, went to Detroit, went to Green Bay. Has been did a lot of coaching. Both in the NFL and in college. His Wikipedia page needs a lot of updates, but yeah, and this guy wasn't even drafted. He was actually a rookie free agent, and he became this player also intercepted Joe Ferguson of the Bills in the wild card playoff game in 1981 or 2, whichever year that was. I think it was 81 when he did that. So this player's had some pretty big interceptions. All right, guys, we got about 30 seconds left. Okay, this one might have been a little bit too difficult. All right. I'm sorry about that. All right. I'll just go ahead and wipe this one out. Okay. The correct answer tonight was Jerry Holmes. Jerry Holmes played for the Jets from 1980 to 83, and then again from 1986 to 87. Defensive backs coach for the Browns, for the Redskins, for the Chargers, then for Hampton University, was even their head coach for a little bit. It was Jerry Holmes who had that interception, that pick 6 of Joe Montana, the only time that the Jets ever beat the 49ers in Candlestick Park. And now the Jets go back to Santa Clara. That's where they're really going. And let's see what happens. Hopefully better memories than the last time they opened a season in San Francisco when Garrison Hurst had that 96-yard touchdown run in overtime. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. We've gone about an hour. I think we are pretty much good to go for the night. But I want to thank everybody for joining me. And stay tuned to the channel. there'll definitely be some Knicks and Rangers stuff coming in over the next few days as these series are getting hot and heavy. We'll figure out some stuff to do as far as the Jets goes for the shows. I know this is kind of the dead period, so we'll see what we wind up doing. But yeah, we'll definitely make it a Jets heavy content as best we can. All right, everybody. I want to thank you all very much for joining me tonight. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you right back here from you know where, the Wicker Chair. Have a great night, everybody.